Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we're going all the way back to 17th century France
Ooh, the law.
to meet a fascinating thinker named Géraud de Cordemoy. Now, this guy, he was a lawyer by trade,
Okay.
but also a major player in the Parisian philosophical scene. And get this, he was a hardcore Cartesian, but not afraid to challenge even Descartes himself.
I like him already. A Cartesian rebel.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
So we've got his two key works to dive into, Le discernement du corps et de l'homme, which translates to distinction of body and soul,
Right.
and Discours physique de la parole.
Or physical discourse on speech.
Catchy titles.
Very descriptive. At least we know what we're getting into, right?
Uh-huh, yeah. So what makes Cordemoy so interesting is how he took Descartes' ideas in some really unexpected directions.
Ooh, okay. I'm intrigued.
In these works, you see him grappling with big questions about substance, cause, and effect, and even language.
Okay, so we're talking about a time when Descartes' ideas were still pretty fresh, right? Sparking all these debates.
Absolutely. And instead of just parroting the master, Cordemoy really carved his own path.
All right, so where do we even start with this guy? What's the first stop on the Cordemoy Express?
Well, let's jump right into one of his most radical departures from Descartes' atomism.
Wait a minute, a Cartesian arguing for atoms? Isn't that like philosophical heresy?
Pretty much. Remember, Descartes believed matter was infinitely divisible because its essence is extension.
Right, no empty space, just endless division.
Exactly. But Cordemoy goes the complete opposite direction. He argues for indivisible atoms, indeed the void.
Wow, what was his reasoning there? Why go against the grain so dramatically?
It all comes down to his super strict view of substance. He believed a true substance can't depend on its parts to exist. It has to be fundamentally independent. So for him, atoms were the true substances, the building blocks of everything.
Like the ultimate Legos.
You got it. And matter was just the collection of these atoms.
So instead of this infinitely divisible goo, it's more like a universe built out of tiny bricks.
A very neat and orderly universe.
But wouldn't that directly contradict Descartes' view?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty big deal, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was a huge point of contention. Cordemoy even had some clever arguments against infinite divisibility.
Like what I'm dying to know how he justified this.
Well, he basically asked, indefinite and infinite are practically the same. How can you even conceive of a substance being endlessly divided?
Yeah. That's a good point. I never thought about it like that.
It's a subtle but powerful argument. He's using logic to kind of poke holes in the foundation of Descartes' view of matter.
So he wasn't afraid to ruffle some feathers.
Not at all. Did other Cartesians just ignore this challenge, though? I mean, how did they respond to this?
Yeah, were they like, Cordemoy, you're out of line?
Oh, they definitely noticed. Thinkers like Dom Robert Desgabet accused him of giving ammunition to rival atomists.
Like who?
Like the Gassendists. They saw it as a betrayal of Cartesian orthodoxy.
So he was a bit of a troublemaker.
You could say that. He wasn't afraid of a little controversy.
I like that. But atomism isn't the only big idea Cordemoy is known for, right? What about occasionalism? That's another one of his big contributions.
You're right. It's another area where he really went his own way, and it gets pretty wild.
For those of us who might not be philosophy PhDs, what is occasionalism in a nutshell?
Okay, so imagine this God is the only true cause. Everything that happens in the universe is just an occasion for God to act.
Okay, so no chain reactions, no domino effect, just God making every little thing happen.
Exactly. And Cordemoy arrived at this through some seriously fascinating logic.
All right, I'm all ears. Break it down for me.
He starts with this idea that things don't actually possess qualities that they can lose without changing their fundamental nature.
Okay, so like a tree can lose its leaves and still be a tree.
Precisely. The leaves aren't essential to the trees.
I get that part. But how does that lead to God being the only cause of everything?
So apply that same logic to bodies in motion. A body can lose its motion and still be a body.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So motion isn't inherent to bodies either.
Exactly. So the first mover, the ultimate source of motion, can itself be a body.
Okay, I'm following. So he's ruled out any physical cause for motion. But if it's not physical, what's left?
While in the Cartesian world, you've got minds and bodies. And since he's eliminated bodies as the source of motion, that leaves only an infinite mind, God, as the first mover.
So instead of a billiard ball universe where things are bumping into each other, it's more like God is playing cosmic billiards.
It's a bold idea, right?
It is. So instead of a chain reaction of cause and effect between objects, it's God initiating every single instance of motion.
Every single one. Every little movement, you and I talking right now. That's all God, according to Cordemoy.
Wow, that's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is. And what's fascinating is that this foreshadows later thinkers like Malebranche and even Hume's skepticism about causality.
So he was really ahead of his time in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. He was pushing the boundaries of Cartesian thought and grappling with questions that still resonate today.
Okay, so we've got atoms as the foundation of matter, and God as the ultimate puppeteer of motion. It's a pretty wild combination.
It is, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. We haven't even gotten to his ideas about the mind-body problem or his fascinating work on language.
There's so much more to explore with this guy.
Definitely. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of Cordemoy's thought.
Well then, let's keep digging. We'll be right back after a short break to dive even deeper into the world of this fascinating Cartesian rebel. So stay tuned. All right, so we've got these atoms as the foundation of everything, and God calling all the shots when it comes to motion. But where does the mind fit into all this? Cordemoy was a Cartesian after all, so he must have had some thoughts on the whole mind-body problem.
Oh yeah, he definitely did, but his take on it was a lot more streamlined than Descartes'. Like, he fully accepted that the mind's essence is thought.
Okay.
And he used the very fact that minds and bodies can interact as proof that they're united somehow.
So if they can affect each other, they must be connected in some way. Makes sense. But wasn't Descartes the one with all those elaborate theories about the pineal gland and animal spirits and all that?
He was, but Cordemoy kept it much simpler. He basically said, look, God is essential to explain how these two totally different substances, mind and body, can interact at all.
So God's not just the cosmic puppeteer, he's also like the universal translator between our minds and bodies.
Pretty much. It's like God is the bridge between these two realms.
Okay, so God's got a lot on his plate. But how did Cordemoy argue for the distinction between mind and body in the first place?
He used doubt, but in a much simpler way than Descartes. He pointed out that you can doubt your body exists, maybe you're dreaming or something, but you can't doubt that you're thinking. The very act of doubting proves your mind is real.
That's a really good point. It's like, I doubt, therefore I think.
Exactly. It's a powerful argument for the existence of the mind. So for Cordemoy, the mind is this thinking substance distinct from the body, but somehow connected to it, thanks to God.
It's like a cosmic puzzle, and God's holding all the pieces together.
You could say that, but there's one more piece of the Cordemoy puzzle we need to talk about. And it's a big one. Language.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Cordemoy and language. What's the connection?
Well, he had some groundbreaking ideas about how language sets humans apart from everything else in creation. He tackled one of the classic problems in philosophy, the problem of other minds.
Right, how do we know that other people actually have minds like ours and aren't just robots pretending to think?
Exactly. It's like we're all trapped in our own heads and we can only guess what's going on in other people's minds.
It's a pretty spooky thought when you put it like that.
It is. But for Cordemoy, language was the key. He argued that the complexity and creativity of human language couldn't be explained by purely mechanical means.
So it's not just about making sounds. It's about expressing meaning, intention, engaging in real communication.
Exactly. And for Cordemoy, that required a rational soul language was the proof that humans had something special going on upstairs.
Okay, I see. But what about animals that can mimic human speech? Like parrots. Don't they challenge his theory?
That's a good question, and Cordemoy definitely considered it. He drew a clear distinction between true language use and just making sounds. He said that animals can make sounds, even utter words, but they don't truly understand what they're saying.
So a parrot might say, Polly wants a cracker, but it doesn't actually understand what a cracker is or why it wants one.
Exactly. It's just mimicking the sounds. It's not engaging in genuine communication.
So for Cordemoy, the heart of language lies in the connection between sounds and ideas, using words as symbols to represent thoughts and share them with others.
Precisely. It's not just about making noise. It's about using those noises to convey meaning and connect with other minds.
That's fascinating. So he saw language as this bridge between the inner world of the mind and the outer world of social interaction.
You got it. It's like language is the key to unlocking the secrets of the human soul.
It's amazing to think that he was wrestling with these questions about language and consciousness all the way back in the 17th century.
I know, right? And his work is still relevant today, especially with the rise of artificial intelligence and all these machines that can generate human-like text.
That's true. It makes you wonder if Cordemoy's ideas about language still hold up in a world where machines are starting to talk like us.
That's a really interesting question and one that we'll have to explore further.
Mhm.
I think Cordemoy would have a lot to say about the nature of AI and whether machines can truly possess the same kind of linguistic abilities as humans.
It sounds like we've only just scratched the surface of Cordemoy's thought. There's still so much to uncover.
Definitely. There's a reason why he's considered one of the most original and influential thinkers of his time. His ideas continue to challenge and inspire us centuries later.
Well, before we get too carried away, let's take a step back and reflect on what we've learned so far. What are the key takeaways about this remarkable thinker who dared to challenge even Descartes himself?
That's a great question, and I think there are a few key points that really stand out.
All right, so we're back, and we've been really digging deep into the ideas of Géraud de Cordemoy, this Cartesian rebel who wasn't afraid to go up against Descartes himself.
It's been quite a ride.
It has. From his atomism to occasionalism and his fascinating theories about language, it's clear that this guy was a real trailblazer.
Absolutely.
But as we wrap things up here, I'm curious, what do you think are Cordemoy's most lasting contributions to philosophy? Like, what are the big takeaways our listeners should really hold on to?
I think his commitment to the idea of substance is really central. It underpins so much of his thinking, from his atomism and occasionalism to how he understands the mind and body.
Okay.
Cordemoy recognized that true substances have to be independent, self-contained entities.
Right.
And he used that principle to challenge some of the most fundamental assumptions of his time.
It's like he saw substance as this lens through which to view the entire universe.
Exactly. From the smallest atoms to the movement of the planets, all orchestrated by God.
Pretty grand vision.
It is. And while some of his conclusions might seem a bit strange to us today, we have to remember the intellectual context he was working in.
Right.
He was grappling with huge questions about the nature of reality knowledge and what it means to be human.
And that's what makes studying these thinkers so fascinating. They were wrestling with these fundamental issues that we're still trying to figure out today.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most important things about Cordemoy is that he wasn't just blindly following Descartes. He was engaging with his ideas, questioning them, refining them.
Yeah, he wasn't afraid to disagree with the big guy.
Not at all. He was charting his own course.
Yeah.
And that's the essence of true philosophical inquiry, right? It's about thinking for yourself.
It is. And his work still has the power to challenge us centuries later. His atomism makes us question the nature of matter. His occasionalism forces us to think about the role of God in the universe.
And his work on language highlights the unique human capacity for thought and communication.
It's amazing how these debates he was having back in the 17th century are still relevant today.
They are. It shows the enduring power of these big philosophical questions. They keep coming back to haunt us.
They do. So as we leave this deep dive into the world of Géraud de Cordemoy, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought to ponder.
Okay, I'm listening.
Cordemoy was adamant that language is this uniquely human capacity.
Right, it's proof of our rational souls.
Exactly.
Mm.
But in a world where we have artificial intelligence that can generate human-like text and even hold conversations, does his argument still hold up?
That's a good one.
Is there something fundamentally different about human language that sets us apart from even the most advanced AI?
That's a question that philosophers and scientists are wrestling with right now, and I think Cordemoy would be thrilled to be part of that debate.
I think so too. It's a question that goes to the heart of what it means to be human.
It really does.
So to all our listeners out there, keep exploring these ideas, keep questioning, keep diving deep, and until next time, happy philosophizing.